Common squirrel monkeys are one of the most successful. They're found throughout the Amazon. Squirrel monkeys grow up fast, and by 10 months they've left their mothers. But for a young, inexperienced monkey, life is precarious. There is danger lurking in the forest. The Martis tribesmen are on a monkey hunt. They've already prepared the tips of their arrows with curare, but catching a fast-moving target takes more than a lethal weapon. So they turn once more to the forest plants to gain an advantage. They concoct a solution, mixing ebony plant in a little water. They drip it into their eyes. The procedure is excruciatingly painful. But they believe it will sharpen their eyesight and heighten their senses, endowing them with the stealth of the forest creatures and enabling them to move silently as shadows across the jungle floor. Armed and ready, they head into the forest. Deep in the forest, the young squirrel monkey has been distracted by an insect snack. He's fallen behind the rest of the troop. Below him, the predator stalks. The Martis hunters are on his tail. His speed and agility make him a difficult target. But the hunters are armed with powerful weapons, poison-tipped arrows, plus their deep understanding of the forest. The animal calls, perfected by the Martis, confuse the young monkey. He's naturally inquisitive and moves closer to the calls. A fatal mistake. The poison brings paralysis within seconds. Life in the Amazon is tough, but the forest provides for all its inhabitants, once they master its secrets. But most of the creatures they share the forest with have been here much longer. One of the weirdest has lived here for 3 million years. It lumbers through the undergrowth, a 1-meter-high plant eater, a close relative of the rhino and the horse, with a snout like an elephant's trunk. This is the tapir. It's well equipped for a life of browsing. At over 200 kilos, he's the Amazon's largest herbivore, with a nose finely tuned for sniffing out edible plants. Essential when many of the forest plants tend to be tough, toxic, or low in calories. Spending hours wandering through this hostile environment in search of food is hard work for a heavy tapir. But it has to reach huge quantities to produce enough energy to survive. Some animals find a meal by hardly moving at all. A nearby stream looks peaceful, but appearances are deceiving. Camouflaged body armor is a useful asset for an ambush predator. Hidden in the leaf-littered shallows, it waits patiently for an opportunity. The Mata turtle. This bizarre creature has been polishing its deadly tactics for millennia. Its name, Mata, simply means kill. it remains motionless. But as a reptile, it must breathe air. The mata does that by extending its specially adapted neck, moving slowly to avoid detection. And using its snout as a snorkel. When a fish gets close enough, the mata opens its huge mouth, creating a vacuum. And sucks in its victim faster than the blink of a human eye. Farther down the river, an unlikely resident of the Amazon waterways abandons the shrinking lagoons of the dry season and heads into open, deeper waters. This is a male Amazon river dolphin. Most dolphins live in salt water, but this species adapted to the rivers long ago. Now the entire basin is his playground. Like other dolphins, he uses sonar to hunt. That comes in handy in these murky waters. But unlike his marine cousins, unfused bones in his neck make it much more flexible. A crucial adaptation when he hunts in smaller rivers, often choked with tangled vegetation and tree roots. Males and females stay apart for most of the year. But now, at the height of the dry season, this dolphin has come to a wide stretch of water, looking for a mate. When he finds a promising female, he begins a strange courtship dance. The male tosses a piece of driftwood around, perhaps to attract the female's attention. If she accepts him, the pair will mate. The female will move into small lakes and lagoons nearby. Quieter backwaters that will provide food and shelter as she awaits the arrival of her single calf. Towards the end of the dry season, the river levels are at their lowest, exposing broad sandbanks. For one huge and ancient creature, this new and temporary landscape offers a brief opportunity essential to their future survival. Female giant Amazon river turtles are on the move. They're powerful swimmers and may travel great distances. The females come to the same stretches of the river year after year. They search for the highest spots on the beaches to lay their eggs. Finely grained sand makes these banks perfect for laying eggs. More than a meter long and weighing up to 90 kilos, the giant females drag themselves out of the water to bask in the sun. The temperature of the sand rises during the heat of the day. The hot sand will act like an incubator, speeding up the growth of the eggs. But it's dangerous. The Amazon's top predator is on the prowl. With one of the strongest bites of all big cats, a jaguar can easily puncture a turtle's shell. The females retreat to the safety of the water. The jaguar can wait, but the turtle's clock is ticking. Under cover of darkness, one turtle seizes her moment. Once the hole is dug, she lays her eggs and covers them gently with sand. If all goes well, they will hatch in 6 weeks. Her timing is crucial, and there is little margin for error. In a few weeks, the rains will return and the beaches will be washed away. The precious eggs must hatch before then. It's a precise timetable, and the turtles have followed it for countless generations. But the climate is changing here, as it is elsewhere around the globe. If weather patterns shift before the turtles have a chance to adapt, they could be doomed to extinction. Another river dweller faces a similar climate crisis, the giant river otter. Giant river otters are rare and endangered, with fewer than 5,000 remaining in the wild. They're the largest of their kind, measuring up to 2 meters long. This family group has 10 members, headed up by Mum and Dad. They're highly social and constantly check in with each other using a variety of vocalizations. Their communication involves a complex system of sounds, scents, and postures. Locals call them the wolves of the river, and they are proficient predators. With their wing-like tails, webbed feet, and sleek fur, they're built for the water, and have no problem catching enough to eat. Each otter feeds on up to 4 kilos of fish a day. Every year, at the start of the dry season, the mother otter relies on river levels falling to expose patches of dry land where she can make her den. These quiet backwaters provide a perfect place for young otters to learn and play. 14 weeks old, and the pups are still mastering the skills they'll need to survive. But it's a race against time. The rains are about to return, and the den will flood. If weather patterns change, it will challenge this finely tuned parenting plan. One creature may be better equipped to deal with climate change. It's the world's largest freshwater fish. The pirarucu can grow to 3 meters in length and weigh more than 2 baby elephants. It lives in slow-moving waterways that are murky from decaying vegetation. Tannin in the leaves turns the water acidic. Not ideal for most fish. And as climate change causes temperatures to rise, oxygen levels are likely to fall even further. But the pirarucu has an amazing secret weapon. Along with its reduced gills, it has evolved with an air bladder that acts like a lung. The pirarucu rises to the surface for a gulp of air, taking in oxygen through its mouth. It is uniquely adapted to exploit areas avoided by other large fish. And the low oxygen levels render its smaller neighbors sluggish, making them easy targets. Its adaptation may give the pirarucu the winning advantage in a changing world. Logging in the Amazon is turning stretches of forest into islands of isolated vegetation. Every species will have to be able to move or adapt in order to survive. And not all creatures are mobile. This pale-throated sloth prefers the security of the canopy and only comes to the ground once a week to defecate. When he does, he's limited to a crawl. The sloth lives solely on leaves a low-calorie diet that provides little energy and is difficult to process. So he spends up to 18 hours a day resting and digesting. This sedentary lifestyle explains how the sloth got his name and his reputation for being lazy. Only the calls of a nearby female get him moving. With poor eyesight, he's reliant on his other senses to find her. Her lichen-covered fur makes her even harder to spot among the branches. It's also a cozy bed for her 3-month-old baby boy. He still relies on his mother for food and protection. It will be another 5 months before he's on his own. But she's ready to mate again. Sloth courtship is slow and graceful. But she may reject him with her baby still around. If these sloths mate successfully, the female will give birth in about 6 months, by which time her son will be independent. But what kind of future does he face? The sloth's home in the forest canopy is an uncertain refuge. Their lack of mobility makes it difficult to adapt to changing conditions. They're too awkward and too slow to move safely across open ground. As the forest becomes more fragmented, they could be doomed to extinction. The creatures of the Amazon have developed their incredible survival strategies over millions of years. If conditions here change too rapidly because of a warming climate or a disappearing forest, many will be unable to adapt. This time, they're fortunate, and the rains are arriving on time. As a new season begins, the waters rise again,